Welcome everybody, my name is Terminus and today we are going to watch Techhnolyze episode 6. Yeah, it's been a little bit since I've seen the last Techhnolyze, around 3 weeks probably, but we're gonna jump into this and we're gonna just, without any further ado, check out my Discord, check out my Patreon, give me a like and subscribe at the end of the video if you liked it. A little disclaimer, we're probably, for this episode, we're gonna cut out the intro and the timer is going to be from the start, like the first frame of the show after the intro, because I did notice that the intro is going to get claimed a lot, so I have to mute it. If I have something interesting to say during the intro, I might leave it in the future, but other than that, we're probably gonna cut it out, and we're gonna try to do that, and you do let me know how you like or don't like that. One of the good things about rotating monster and Techhnolyze is actually that we can kind of put something out and then you can give me feedback, and relatively soon, in terms of like the course that the reaction series will go, we will be able to adapt and switch along the way if you do not like that. Do also let me know how you like the idea of maybe having more of an edited version. I know I've put it on a poll before together with Monster, where I was like, how do you feel about all the series in general, Monster, Techhnolyze, whatever? Do you like me to do the full thing? The problem with the full thing on Techhnolyze is it seems to get claimed starting from episode 3. So I do either have to make it relatively transparent, right? So it doesn't get picked up, especially on those specific cases where it actually gets detected, and it seems to get detected on a lot of occasions. But I'll have to make that rather transparent if I do the full thing, or I'll have to do it a little bit more of an editing style, just like I do the Jujutsu Kaisen stuff, or how I do stuff like Bocce, for example, or how I did Made in Abyss back in the day, how I did Frieren. Do let me know which one of them you would prefer, because that would be a lot of help for me to actually figure out. Because if you're somebody who's just skipping through a lot of the stuff, I might be able to kind of just cut out the parts which I found very prominent, which I found very interesting for the story, and I had big reactions on, and where I talked about interesting stuff during these scenes. And then we're gonna have the full-length version, obviously, on Patreon as well. So yeah, do let me know, and we're just gonna start right into it. Techhnolyze episode 6 starts in... It's not exactly, but it's approximately. Ooh, okay. This looks like a big reactor, right? And now we're zooming into another kind of reactor. The city folks' eyes changed colors. Okay. Literally. This looks like a reactor, like a reactor fluid. Right? Coolant or whatever it is. Like in a nuclear reactor or something. This is very nuclear reactor imagery, especially with the fans and everything as well. It's very different from an art perspective, this episode, the way it starts. This dude seems to be some kind of worker, I guess. Right, so they're doing work for... at the plant or something, maybe, right? A little bit, my dude. Not completely. Ooh, how the light is coming in. So is this an artificial light? The result of some kind of... Because this is how it feels, right? It doesn't feel like the sun. The colors of their eyes. Repetition. Like a cycle, maybe. Look at this dude in his soft fucking bed. Luxury. She's already up.
So. わかったわ。教えてくれてありがとう。じゃあ主人起きてきたから。
Oh, okay.
ごきげんよう。
誰と話していた?
Is he actually her husband?
町よ。町とお話ししていたの。あなたばっかりずるいから。
俺ばっかり。
あなたには町が話しかけてくれるんでしょ?
Metaphorically? Or literally?
だからずるいわ。
よく覚えていたな。そのことを話したのはずいぶん前だ。だが言葉で話しかけてくるわけじゃない。
Ah, okay. You can read the city, kind
私
of.
には話しかけてくれるのよ。
Seems kind of out of it. Right. Perfect tomato slices. Ooh, and she's not in her chair. So I do wonder if she's still on the ground or if she's since moved. Our boy's back up after being rescued, low-key. And we're back in this old factory building-ish. Very rusty everything, right? Oh, okay, this is the scene of the crime, right? This is where it happened. It's very interesting that he revisits that. Did he lose something there, or is it just his mind taking him back there? Our boy scouting out the place. Is that a volcano? Is he getting used to it? He doesn't yet have any casing for it. Ooh. Yeah, I do assume like there's a learning curve to that. Some kind of facility. He is very curious in general. The hell does he want? Ooh, okay. So many words that are left unspoken and up for interpretation, right? Very interesting how this show builds itself up. Yeah, coordinating with that is hard, like really hard, I would assume.
Hirota, 手配したやつの報告は来てるか？
いいえ、まだ来ていません。
辻中の事務所で動いているのは誰だ？
武部、マシモ、あと石井でしょうか。
石井か。
She.
呼び出してくれ。
Okay. These pillars, they kind of look like a highway that wasn't built completely, right? A bridge or something. It's interesting that she wears her hair open when she's not in the lab. The characters in this show don't have a lot of emotional control, do they? Right, is she?
あったらしていますよ。
Oh, it's the one who threw him into the sewer, I think, right?
本当に。なんであんなクズ野郎なんかを。クズかどうか君は知ってるのか？あ？もし奴がクズだとしたら、クズにしたのは君だ。ご心配いただいてどうも。辻中さんによろしく。
Thank you, I guess. Alright, so what facility is she going to? Right, do they know one another? Bro just be like coming in being like, hello sir, let me introduce myself. Hello miss, let me introduce myself. He be scheming. Ooh, is this the first line we hear from him? Like the first I mean, he talked to her for a second. Like, I think in episode 3-4 he talked to her actually, but very little. The reflection? Oh, they don't know each other. Yoshi. What are you doing, Yoshi?
足痛くありませんでした。
Why is it so yellow?
医者はあなたの方だった。
見ない顔だけど、オルガノの人？私の窓口は大西だけよ。
ええ、そうなんですってね。
He's got so much info on people.
あなたは本来門の向こう側の人間だった。
Other side of the gates. Okay. Which gates? You have the city or...
"私はあなたが好きだな。
誰なのよ、あなた。
遺体組織移植の免疫抵抗をまるで最初から同化するのが当たり前のように騙してしまう。ラフィアでしたっけ？この町の中心で取れる苔なんですよね。
どこから来たの？
And the stark contrast with the light here.
この町に存在価値を与えたラフィア。そのおかげで本当だったらとっくに絶滅していたかもしれない我々人間という種を存続させることができた。とても不自然な手段であってもそれがここで発見された。これって人間が生き続けていいよって神様がくれたものなんですかね。毒。
We humans, he counts himself in there. So weird and mysterious. So is Lucas actually exporting raffia to the rest of the world, or because it seemed in the beginning like this city, this world is completely isolated from whatever is out there where Yoshi come from. This atmosphere reminds me a lot of Ghost in the Shell. Very interesting framing.
あなたが門の外からここに来ているのは、神様のくれた恩恵を地上だけでなく、この町に生きる人に与えるという使命感からじゃないですよね。
クラースは一応今でもこの世界の支配層なのよ。何を調べたいのか知らないけど、あなたは門の中に入れる人間なんでしょ？
One of those who can go inside the gates.
こんなに人間らしい人間を見たのは初めてかもしれない。
Okay. Interesting.
門の外も内側も。
人を機械仕掛けにする女神なんですよ、あなた。
それが唯一残された進化できる道だからよ。
A necessity.
人間の機関を移植するためだけにラフィアが見つかったんじゃないはず。
素敵ですね。
どれにすんの？どれ？
The fuck are you and what are you doing? He's gonna get caught in like a second. A girl runs, still watching him. She's back. Holy shit. Don't you love it to just hang out in your chair naked? Everybody does that, right?
なあ、あんたさ、他にすることないんだったら、この
I
市
gave
場
him
にずっとい
something.
ないか？ラガンの悪ガキ、最近本当に癖悪くてさ、たくみかじめ払ってんのによ。背広の連中ったら何にもしてくれないんだから。
伊崎事務所の方から手配した者らしき男が市場にいると連絡が入りました。
殺すなと念を押しといてくれ。
He's got plans for him. It's a very interesting tune in the back. Oh, he's gonna react to that, of course, right? Is he gonna react with rage or is he gonna avoid them? Oh, yes. Like a dog chasing a car.
PC さんやめといた方がいい。こいつ殺したらあんたの立場悪くなるよ。気分悪いんだよ。残りの手足も切ってから大西にくれてやる。なんだよその目、虫唾が走るんだよ。嫌いなんだよ。おめえみたいに一人で生きていられると思いやがってる若造が。
So this is a power trip for him. There's no empathy, right?
俺もそうだった。
Or maybe there is.
やっと見つかったのね。今死なれたら困る。
Ooh. Okay, yes. Punching him with his human fist. Interesting. Like, I'm not gonna use the stuff you gave me. Well, not he, but... And maybe also he doesn't want to kill him. He just wants him to feel pain, right? So he can't smile. Not too bad, man. Too bad. Wonder what Ron's goal is here, right? Because she's just observing at the moment. She said, good boy, so... Ooh, that was a cool transition. That was a really cool transition.
みんなあんな目をしていたような気がすんだ。何度も聞いた。
Well, I haven't heard it, so spit it out.
いいじゃないか。忘れちまわないように。な。
And that's it. I can't show the outro anyway, so I'm gonna skip this. Alright, let's talk about it for a second, and I would say we're probably gonna jump into the next episode. I don't know how much space I have on this camera, but I think it should be enough. Let's boom, get it on the screen. Skip the intro. I do love how we're starting like in a very dark place and like from the ground looking up. It's always very impressive for me to see these structures, especially when it's like a generator or some shit. But this looks like all of this imagery that we see here that looks like a nuclear power generator or something. I do love the transitions in this episode. They're really cool, right? We're going from this round circle structure with all of the not machinery, but all of the railings and all of that. We're going into another circular structure, which is probably from the macro to the micro, which is very cool. But all of this imagery kind of opens up the idea of like plutonium, and most of the time like nuclear generators, they're suspended in some kind of fluid, right? Because like you have nuclear reactions in like the small that are really, really hot, and the radiation can't go outside. This looks like a lot of the stuff that you'd see in either, right, nuclear generators, scientific equipment, whatever. And that evokes that imagery of that hard steel surrounding all of that. And then this is not a literal transition, right? It doesn't look like a literal transition. We're transitioning out from this structure, going to the outside, and suddenly we're transitioning into a ventilation system, which is... synonymous with like the big clouds that are coming up from the generators that you normally see. And this is really hard to see because it's so dark. Right? And then we go into long hallways that are very, like, they have a very industrial feel, right? But not in a production way, and more like in a power generator way with all of the other imagery that we've been getting. And this is the same, right? With all of the railings and the different levels that you can walk on with the grates. And he's telling a story kind of like he lived through that. And I do wonder if this is what we're seeing here, right? Him being a worker in some kind of power plant or whatever. And he's talking about the city. He's like, everybody needs or needed us as like in the city. And then we're walking past these giant, enormous vents. And now we suddenly see the light coming into the dark night of the facility, and it feels a lot like unnatural, right? And on the one hand, you do feel like there's a lot of like the sun is coming in from the horizon. This is similar, but it's not the same, because I'm trying to think, if the sun was coming from the horizon, right? Then what we would be seeing is, I mean, we would be seeing it like that, right? But it feels more like artificial light, because you don't see a sky with a sun, right? You would see a blue sky, you would see the sun above that, but it's white, it's pure white, so it feels like it's all artificial. The color of the city folks' eyes. Maybe it wasn't the first time that they changed. Such a weird thing to say, right? And we're focusing on the flowers, and we're saying that is later on we kind of mentioned that is whatchamacallit, the thing that Raffia, the thing that's powering our ability to put those limbs on our bodies without getting the rejection. And the title of the episode is Repetition, which is like he's getting caught again, which makes sense, kind of, in a way. It is, in a way, a repetition of what happened before. In many ways, right? The plotting that's going on, the political side, right? The city's speaking to you, right? He can read the city. That's what he's saying, right? He understands what's happening in the city. And he's like, but it does talk to me. So weird and cryptic. And there's an argument to be made, we're 6 episodes in, that I can understand why there is probably a lot of people who don't jive with this anime. Which is, there's a sweet spot, right? There's a sweet spot of keeping up a mystery around an anime, but giving your audience enough food, enough information in order to kind of make sense of the world around you. This is something this anime is doing very little. And some people can't deal with that. And I have partially also a problem with that sometimes. That I start an anime, I start a series, and I'm kind of feeling confused. And oftentimes, right, an episode in, 2 episodes in, 3 episodes in, you're starting to see the picture, right? The picture is getting painted and it's getting filled out more and more to the degree that you kind of feel at home in the world that you've stepped into, right? This is what I'm not getting here. All I feel is confusion and repetition, and right, we have a couple of breadcrumbs, right? But it feels to me like there's so many terms that are being thrown my way, right? Names that are dropped. And it feels like in many series, these names that are dropped are deliberately dropped. It's important, and it feels like this in terms of like how the anime presents itself. It feels that way to me, which gives me the feeling that, oh, I gotta know that, I gotta know that, I gotta know that, I gotta keep that in mind, I gotta keep that in my memory. It's the kind of anime that's like, I'm not gonna hold your hand, you gotta have to memorize all of that. And then I'm getting 1 episode more in, and I feel like maybe there's something that we can connect. Oh, wait. no, there isn't, right? Suddenly, right? I don't have connective tissue yet, so all of these pieces of information that I've been gathering, they're all floating in free space, and I'm not able to connect them, right? There's no network, right? Normally you're building a network. You have term 1, term 2, term 3, right? And they're being a little bit in isolation, and with each episode there's a new connection being made. But here it's not, right? Connections are shortly being made and then broken apart again. You don't know what to do with the information that is given to you. And this is giving you me an extreme feeling of discomfort while watching the anime, because I feel like as soon as I forget something, it's gone and it might be important. It's like you're studying for an exam, but you don't know which pieces of like the 20,000 words that you're supposed to read is important. You don't know how many of these 15 or 20 or 80 studies that you're supposed to look through is important. What's relevant? You don't have any associations, connections, whatever. And you're like lost. You feel lost, you feel anxious, you feel like at any point in time, you're supposed to understand something. You're supposed to understand what is happening in front of you beyond what is happening on a visual level, right? Beyond of the simple things that are getting explained and shown to you. You're supposed to understand some deeper meaning and make connections, but it's not happening for me. And this is a really weird feeling for me. It's a really strange feeling for me. Now, I do keep in mind and I do consider the possibility that this is an intentional thing. We gotta go further into the series and see if this is actually a thing that right at the stage that we are at is supposed to be happening. We feel like there's always not enough happening, not enough being said, not enough being shown for us to be sure about anything that is being displayed here. Like Yoshi, where does he come from? He comes somewhere from the outside. He's supposed to document probably and to do something specific. You have a specific goal. He's talking a lot about the people of the city and how they work and how this doctor is used to be outside of the gates and now she's inside the gates. Which gates? What gates are we talking about? The gates of the city? What is outside the gates of the city, right? Is there a surface or is this like, right? Humanity was apparently saved by Raffia. Well, is it humanity within the city walls? Is it just the city that is being saved? And what is outside? Is that not humanity? But he is a human, so and he's coming from outside. You know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of cool stuff, obviously. Cool imagery, like just flashes of feelings and emotions. We do have a lot of that rustic feel that we had in the previous episodes as well. He's scouting out this mountain facility, looking for something, waiting for something that he has some info on that we don't know where he's got the info from. We don't know what info he has. We don't know what he wants to look for, right? What he's looking for. Feels to me a lot like, now, don't get me wrong, I'm not making that assumption, right? But it feels to me at the moment, at present time, it feels to me a lot like an author who is just writing down random things that they want to have in their story, thematically, or just like random elements and people and persons, and it's being continuously cryptic, assuming that there's some hidden meaning that the audience is supposed to claim or parse out, or right? Like, if I didn't know any better, if I didn't trust the people who have recommended this anime to me, I would say the anime is just pretentious, and in the end, there's nothing beneath that. It's hollow, right? I'm trying to look at this. Well, first of all, this is the experience I have. Kind of, I'm hovering above, but at the same time, obviously, I do have the hope and the recommendation of many people who think otherwise. So I do trust that there's some substance beyond that, but I can understand how somebody who's going into this anime and watching the first six episodes of this anime and is absolutely completely lost would be like, you know what, I'm just gonna drop it. Right. But I can stand this feeling, right? Okay, I can stand this feeling. I can stand the discomfort. I can stand the... And we're gonna get through it. He's learning his capabilities, which is very neat. Very cool. Yoshi's still scouting out shit, and her still being hot as fuck. I don't know what she's doing, right? There's, like I said, there's a lot of stuff left unspoken. No one can say I'm just what? I won't let them. Just what? Right? Last time we saw you, you were like struck down by Ichise, and yeah. And your men, or like the people who are like your contractors or whatever, are looking for him. No one can say you're just what? A woman? I'm grasping at straws here. Him learning how to walk. I do like the landscapes are really beautiful, even if they're like very like low in resolution, even if they're kind of like very dusty and wastelandish, and there's a lot of like static that is, in my opinion, intentional static, kind of. We don't know where these places are that our characters are at. We don't know where they're going, what goals they have in mind, right? Look at this. This is like a scene. They're standing opposite of one another, the only two human beings right here, and he's smiling at her like he's knowing something, or like he's greeting something he knows, and somebody he knows. And supposedly he knows about her, right? Because he has a lot of information, and we're all like, where do you get the information from? But she doesn't know that either. She doesn't know him either. He's like, hello, let me introduce myself. Like I said in the thing. And we do have these continuous like reflections in dirty, well, not dirty, but like windows that reflect the dirty landscape. Blonde and blue eyes, also very interesting. I do wonder why she has yellow skin here, right? Like it feels like there's something weird about her skin in this, especially if you look at her from like in comparison with the complexion she has, which is a pretty normal complexion here. Almost like it's an artificial leg or something. The same with like the symbol, like again, I don't get it. The symbolism. He's lying here, and then we're flashing supposedly forward in time to like just 4 flowers lying here. And we know the flowers are from Ran, but why does she lie them there? What's the symbolism behind that, right? The environments are very detailed. They're very amazing looking, and when going through this like city landscape, and we're making our way slowly with a couple of characters, and we're having that interesting background OST, I was thinking a lot of Ghost in the Shell, how we saw the city in the first movie and whatnot. But yeah. And then we go back and it's like, okay, let me just parse through this information because I feel it's important. First of all, really great framing of the shot, where we do have like a little bit of empty space here when showing the ceiling, right? Just for scale, for scope, right? If we would only be showing her face, it would look weird. But now we're looking, like her face is looking down upon us or upon the camera or whatnot. She's looking very beautiful here in this shot with one side of her face being obscured by her hair falling down, and we do kind of from the way her hair is falling down, we kind of understand where within the space we are actually, right? Our camera is at. And they're talking to one another here. Let me just... you didn't come here from outside the gates with the noble cause of giving God's blessing to not only the people who live above ground, but also those who live in the city, or did you? Okay, the city is not above ground, right? We make that distinction. The city is... If it's not above ground, then it's beneath ground. It's underground. So that makes, like, that strengthens my theory of all of this being underground and the light being artificial. And he's talking about the gates. So assumedly, being outside the gates means being. You didn't come here from outside the gates. That means not only being not in the city, but also not being above ground, right? I mean, being above ground maybe, but not being within the space that is above ground, where people live above ground aside from the city. She's coming from an outside of the outside, basically. Shout out to Tengoku Damakyo. The class is still in a fashion the ruling class of this world, right? So the people who are higher up are still kind of the rulers of the world. I don't know what you're trying to find out, but you're one of those who can go inside the gates, aren't you? Inside the gates. Which gates? Inside the gates. You're coming from outside, so they're both from outside the gates and they're going inside the gates. I like it here. Might be the first time I've seen humans who behave so human. So people outside the gates are not human, right? They're probably more cold and logical, I would assume. That's the standard stereotype for not being human. Outside or inside of the gates, I hate it. A goddess who mechanizes human beings, that's who you are. And we're looking top down, which is very interesting. Like, we're looking at this from like a very neutral top-down perspective. We had something similar in Monogatari with one of the framings in episode 6. Because that's the only remaining road to evolution. Raphia wasn't discovered only to transplant one human's organs to another, right? It was also made or discovered and opened possibilities for us to evolve beyond just living longer due to organ transplants and whatnot. And then we switch scenes. Again, what's the point of this scene, right? There was a flash here. Let's see what that flash is. It looks like the workings of like a Techhnolyze limb or something. Interesting. And it's kind of twitching and moving. Like, oh, it's his, right? With the knee? Maybe? I don't know, it looks like a knee. Yeah, and there's like the... And she's maybe looking at it, right? Up at the ceiling or somewhere where she's like... Or in her mind's eye, maybe. Interesting how she's looking up, like almost contemplative. Thinking, like, she's thinking of these things. And then we flash to them quickly just to show what she's thinking of. And then she comes out of her thought and moves her eyes. Getting thanked. The city is kind of lawless, right? The gangs who are supposed to uphold order in some shape or form are not doing that as well, and they don't have a police force. So it's kind of lawless, almost might is right kind of deal. I hate squirts like you who think they can live on their own. And he's looking at him defiantly, right, with a lot of rage and anger, because, right, rightfully so, he's been, right, he chopped his arm off because I used to be one of them, right? He hates it because he used to be one of them, right? So he's like, I hate looking at my past self. He's kind of made a clean cut to put it in pun terms with his former self, and he hates looking at that because he's reminded of where he was, right? I guess, right? So I first I thought he has no empathy, but I guess he does, right? But it's the wrong kind of empathy. He was in that headspace before, and he's like, no, I reject everything that has to do with that. And I do think it's very interesting, right? He's grabbing the limb and he's grabbing the sword, and he's getting kind of like better at it. And obviously we do see later on that the other guy has the sword in his leg, so he actually put it to good use. Still wonder what she wants with him, right? What further use she wants with him, right? If that aligns with what the leader of the Organos actually wants. But either way, What does Ron want? We still don't know that either, right? She's just standing in the background menacingly. But nobody notices her. She's like a ghost almost. Yeah, he wants to punch him with the limb, but he uses his human limb. He's like, nah, I'm gonna let you feel the pain. I don't want to kill you, I want to hurt you. Which she answers with good boy. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, him killing this guy would have been not a desired outcome for her, for whatever reason. And he's experiencing control here, right? Like, this is like him taking back all of that control, gaining control over his former blight and pain. I mean, that is one of the reasons why so many, or I believe, this is personal belief, by the way, this, like, don't take it as scientific gospel, but my personal belief, probably this is probably the reason why a lot of victims have the potential to become perpetrators later, because becoming perpetrators would put you in the role of control, right? It would make you take control back over your life and over the pain that you've been experiencing. Putting pain onto others kind of gives you that control. And one of the main, like, the main mechanisms of, for example, if you look at stuff like depression or trauma, especially depression, one of the main mechanisms that is hypothesized in terms of like depression and social, not social, and psychological issues in close connection to depression is this feeling of helplessness, because you do learn that through various experiences in life that you, especially those made early on, you might experience negative things happening to you over which you do not have any control. And what you learn is that you don't have control over your negative experiences. And when you then meet upon a situation that is negative for you, but also that you could potentially have control over, you don't even choose to try to have that control, because it's so ingrained into you that there's no control, right? And if we follow that path in another way, we could say that taking control over a situation that before you were at the mercy of somebody or something and were experiencing pain at the mercy of somebody, at the control of somebody else, taking that control and putting the pain onto somebody else is actually reversing that, right? It is giving you the general idea that you do have control over your life. It's kind of a mechanism in order to try to revert that negative effect, right? Try to avoid this helplessness that you would otherwise be experiencing, because you would feel like you have no control over any aspect of your life. Again, personal theory, right? Combined with a couple of like theories that are actually out there, specifically the one where I said, like, in regards to depression, helplessness, learned helplessness. That's how it's called, right? Learned hopelessness as well. And how that relates to control. That part is actually scientifically, psychologically a thing. And the other ones were things I was kind of connecting to it. Trying to make sense of it. And yeah. Very interesting. He gets captured again, so it's a repetition as well. And then we ended upon the power, seemingly the power plant. It seems like the power plant underneath the city that is powering this whole thing. And their job is important. That's what he said in the beginning of the episode. But yeah. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to jump into episode 7 of Techhnolyze. We're probably going to release them at the same time, both of those. So yeah. And afterwards, I might record something else. Not Techhnolyze, I can tell you that much. I don't know if I'll do more than that. But yeah, let's jump into it. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how much SD card space I still have. It's over. Let's get into the episode. Plot. Hello? What do you mean plot? Do we actually get story? Do we actually get plot? Do we make connections? Holy shit, I'm so excited. please. It's probably not what I think it is. I do love the blue lights. It's a nice touch. Very interesting. Somebody getting tortured or something? The hell is happening here? A prisoner, maybe? 2 frames. Could be the doctor. Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, it's okay. And the doctor's back in action. So weird that they seemingly have plans for him. And you don't even really see him, right? His face or something. You just see like his body, and now you gleam into his eyes. Now, can we talk? I mean, you like to talk a lot, but you know, last time you didn't really give us a lot. No, I guess we're fine tuning and we're adding some, I guess maybe energy source or something. Maybe it's raffia. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Right, and we do have the shell. Now he has actually. Okay. He ain't gonna hurt her. Yeah. He's angry, but at least he's asking and not raging. But she's not giving him any answers. And maybe we can talk, right? What do you want from me? Or is he gonna attack? I mean, at some point you might realize that this is not... So interesting that she claims him, kind of. Despite having originally taken care of him in... I mean, I guess she was... No, she was acting in accordance to his requests. And they let him go again. They just finished what they started. There's an almost religious zealotry in that statement. Right? Like the city is its own entity, right? An entity of worship. So bright. And then this is run. First time she's really making contact, right? I do wonder how much she is in contact with the Organo and the rest of them. He seems to be walking past her, so he doesn't recognize her or see that she's... Oh, this is a really cool shot. What are you up to, Yoshi? Looks like a mess hall of some workers.
そうかな。鉄道は好きだったんだ。ここへ来て、やっと念願叶ったというわけだな。
手だけ見れば別人ですよ。
実際、別人のつもりだ。
They know each other from the beginning.
世界ではあなたという人がいたことすら曖昧になってます。
Hmm.
上は相変わらずか。
何にも変わりません。腹が立つほどね。
I mean, so this is a problem that nothing changes
あ
up
なた
there.
の目標としていたものとしてお尋ねしたいのですが。
崎村達也はもう死んだ。君が今
達也。
聞いているのは違う誰かだ。
Ooh, okay, so this is his old name.
この件を上にどう報告するべきでしょうかね。
I mean, feels like there's a regime up there, right? Just him tapping into the city.
なさいましたか？
City talking to him. Again with the reflections. Who's tinkering and why? Yoshi with his weapon. No, Tatsuya with his weapon. Okay. And then we switch again. We switch perspectives again. Okay. Run and Ichise. What are you up to? What are you doing? I mean, they have nothing to do with him, right? They knew Yoshi, but that's it. It's so interesting that he's just going through life not even reacting to other people.
どこでつけたんだそんなもん。
Like, he's not interacting with people.
派手に暴れたんだってな。オルガノのチンピラ叩き殺すなんていい度胸じゃねえか。
Hmm.
どうだうちに来ないか
Right.
悪いようにはしないぜ。
They're kind of low-key a little bit against the Organo. Don't touch him. It's a bad idea. But he gets the vibe, apparently.
お前は俺たちと同じなんだよ。
Everybody wants something in this city. Feels so weird having her as, like, following him, doing nothing. Almost like a guardian angel.
どうした
He makes his own decisions, he has his own fate, but there's a point at which she is doing very, very small interference.
オルガノと連合の小競り合いはもはや慢性的だ。大西が連合の木俣に直談判をしたせいで今は小康状態だが、
Okay.
末端の連中は相変わらず一触即発だ。いつ何が起こってもおかしくない。
Right, so, yeah, times are... That's the union, alright. Volatile. The whole city's a powder keg. That happens. It happens. Holy. Interesting. Interesting way to display that.
あそこじゃテクノライズしても仕方なかろうしな。いや、女が帰ってその方が喜ぶかもしれん。ギクシャク動いてね。
Alright, dude.
連中がオルガノのメンツを潰す気なのか、それとも下っ端のバカを抑えきれていないのか、あるいは別の人間の仕業なのか。
いずれにしてもいい機会ではある。
He didn't like that.
若い連中もすっかりやる気ですしね。下の連中の不満が解消されないことの方が問題だ。連中の息抜きのつもりでどうかね。
うちの親父も同じ意見です。こういうのも何かの巡り合わせだと。
Hmm.
連合につなげ。
He's not out for blood.
もういい。お前が連合に行け。行って先ほどの一件、本当に連合の仕業なのかどうか問いただせ。お前はこの大西の代理だ。お前に対する態度は、すなわち大西に対するものと同じとみなす。
And he's like, you have my protections. That's very important, I guess. And he's like, there must be more to it, which I understand. It is all politics. Holy shit, I didn't know we were in Berlin. Very interesting how he's not even really interacting with her. And she's not really interacting with him.
まあ、慣れだな、慣れ。コップなんざいくら壊しても構わねえ。好きなだけ練習しな。微妙な硬さの違いが学習できれば、そこに浮かんでくるうざったいのもいくつか消えてくはずだぜ。
Ooh, okay.
お前らいいコンビだぜ。
Like he's very
なんだよ。今日えらく優しくなってんじゃねえか。
he's trying to get him on her side.
のうのうと生きて帰ってきたやつだぜ。あいつにはな、何かがあるんだよ。何かが。オルガノにも手を出せねえ何かがな。
Hmm. Or don't want to.
手持ちの札は大いに越したことはねえ。
Yeah, there's... It's so hard. I can understand that, right? Learning control from the ground up. Right, who are you? A sniper.
この間、
Union
スナ
sniper.
イパーが大西を狙撃しようとした事件があった。連合はしばしばそういう手を使う。ガベの長老を銃撃したのも連中ではないかというもっぱらの噂だ。
Chief of Gabe. What was Gabe again? I think like that the term is telling me something. Yeah, this is like somebody stirring a war between the two. Somebody's steering a war between the two. They probably get what they wanted.
そいつは確かか。はい。 これはもう戦争だな。
大西の、あとはあんたが腹をくくるだけだぜ。
中原が殺されたということはすなわちあんたは
町は祭りを望んでいない。まだ我々が動く必要もない。
Some people are discontent with it, but not all of them. And I guess that was the call from the union.
オルガナはその気です。電信で交渉の余地なしと伝えてきました。連中を襲った人間は調査中です。生ぬるい。やはり本気のようですな。
大西。
連合からです。交渉の余地なし。
Yeah.
大西だ。岸和田を出せ。
Ooh, Yoshi, really? Yoshi is stirring that war? But the city talks to him. He's coming from outside, he's stirring a war. He's got all the info too.
黙って帰るつもりはないですよ。人間が持つ原初の力がほとばしるのをもっともっと見てみたい。
Ooh, just as morbidly curious.
中原の部下が先を急いで。何？
もう遅いよ、大西さん。
He's slowly losing the grip on the city. Stuff is escalating. Insane. Okay. And this is where he meets, like, all three of our main characters are in the same room right now. It's very hard to tell what he's thinking, right? He's a blank slate, kind of. And he doesn't talk much. It's always hard to get a sense of who he is. Looks like a bomb. Did he put a bomb into their quarters as well? Holy shit. So he's just gonna blow everybody up and then just make them... Huh. Is he just sowing chaos, right? And for what purpose? Alright, that was Techhnolyze episode 7. Very interesting. I do feel like I have to revert a little bit on my talking point to episode 6. It feels a lot more like I'm starting to get a grip of what's happening. So this feeling of episode 6 being like, oh, I have no idea, I'm so confused, might be intentional and the start point of us actually figuring out what's going on. And that's great. If that's the case, then well executed, really, although I can still understand why people quit before that. But yeah, if this is us actually getting more of an idea what's happening, which it feels like, that's great. And we do have now, I do love that our main characters are in the same room, what's gonna happen now. Although Yoshi seems to get the fuck out of here again and then he has a bomb, maybe Ichisen and Ran can help with that. I do wonder what Ran's intentions are here, because obviously she has some kind of foresight, what her goal is here, and an extension of the Sage and whatnot. And the Sage seems to be also be connected to a degree with Onishi, but the entire city seems to be kind of alive and everybody seems to somewhat believe in that. It's very interesting. But yeah, that was Techhnolyze episode 7. We're gonna probably have a separate discussion video. If it is, it's gonna pop up right here, and right, you know the deal. Check out the Discord and Patreon. I do hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe if you did. And I'll be hopefully seeing you in 2 weeks for the next batch.